Okay, now we get into the more fun stuff. So here's like the basic stuff regarding gunboat tactics that has worked out really well for us, and just the core basic stuff. The first part here, um, I'll admit this is probably a poor choice of words, but the idea that I just have to convey here is that you don't want to be stationary in a fight, right? Stationary gunboat's a dead gunboat. You want to always be maneuvering once the fight is started, or just as the fight is starting, you want to stop moving. You don't want to be stationary, or you want to be in a position where you are able, if you get jumped, to be able to maneuver. Basically, you have room to maneuver. That's the point here. The first point that I'm trying to say. Um, you want to think of gunboat combat as like air-to-air combat in like dogfights in like War Thunder or something like that. You have to keep maneuvering, and the faster you are, the better, ideally. But yeah, maneuverability. That's the name of the game here, relating to gunboats. Now, as we've already discussed, broadsiding the enemy with the Colonial gunboat is the best way to employ as many weapon systems as you can against the enemy. Um, Against the Warden gunboat, if you get broadside on, they can only shoot you with the heavy mortar cannon that they have, whereas we can shoot them with our cannon and the ATR. Um, if we're side to side, broadside on. The Wardens can only employ two weapon systems if they are direct front or direct rear. So yeah, we got that going for us here. Now the scout team, the way that we operate the gunboats in 4th Naval is we have what's called like a gunboat section. So it's a pair. You have a gunboat and a scout team. And the scout team is basically two people in a motorboat. We have a driver and a guy with binos. And their job is to just increase situational awareness and project vision for the gunboat commander. Um, there's plenty of videos and major battles that I've recorded and I've done after action reports. I will link them throughout this video, and if I can, I'll try put the clips in as I'm editing the video. But basically, having the ability to identify targets or detect threats, the force multiplication effect is immense. Having a good scout team with a scout leader that understands what his role is, it has enabled us to make maneuvers and plays which we wouldn't otherwise be able to. And it's also saved us and countless times from being jumped and destroyed by enemy gunboat swarms. It's just an absolutely amazing thing to do. So if you're a upcoming regiment trying to do gunboats, highly recommend you try operate in pairs, a gunboat and a scout team. It just works, makes wonders work. So I've already covered some of the points here regarding the Colonial gunboat versus the Warden gunboat. So broadsides, that's one of our big advantage. The Warden gunboat is slightly faster in terms of top speed. In terms of acceleration, I'm not entirely sure what the differences are, but during the dev branch, we did a race, and I think it was basically negligible in terms of acceleration. Not much difference there. There's also a slight difference in maneuverability at high speeds. The Warden gunboat is slightly less maneuverable, but the thing is, the Colonial gunboat is already unmaneuverable as it is. The disparity in the margin between these two turn rates is so small that it's not something that can be exploited. I've never seen it done, and we've never been able to pull it off, really. Um, all I can say is that don't let the Wardens get behind you in the Colonial gunboat. You're done for at that point. Not much you can do. So carrying on with the Sticky Barges, ATRs, definitely the way to go. You can knock out and disable barges with a couple of ATR shots. And if you get two deployed, if you have a second gunboat, you can get them down really quickly, really fast. Regarding the weak spot with the Colonial gunboat, the same thing applies regarding having wardens behind you. So in terms of speed, the gunboat is much faster than the barge, but the barge has much faster acceleration and maneuverability. It has a much tighter turning circle. Now, these two combined basically means that if a barge gets behind you, right, if a Warden Sticky Barge gets behind a Colonial gunboat, the gunboat's only chance of disengaging is just go in a straight line and gun the engine and get out. If you try to turn, you're not going to be able to get them off because due to the turn rate and the acceleration of the barge, they can stay behind you in your blind spot and you can't shake them off. It's just how it is. And if you keep your turns up for long enough, in some cases the barge can catch up to you, and then you're done for. Nothing you can do after that. So yeah. Now we go on to the advanced tactics. Only 2 points here to discuss. So the first one here is the most practical thing out of these 2 points. Is the one that's worked very well for us. If you're engaged against a warden gunboat in a close quarters knife fight engagement type scenario, one thing you can do is to push the warden gunboat on the side by ramming the bow or the rear of their ship, and basically push them on the side, and then all of a sudden you're broadside onto the enemy. You've got 2 weapons against their one. Easy win. We've managed to pull this off multiple times. It's worked extremely well, especially if you're screening enemy a friendly ship. Usually the gunboat swarms try to pounce in onto the destroyer and then try to stick close enough to it that they stop maneuvering a lot. So the perfect opportunity to deploy this tactic. Regarding formations, I did actually draw up a slide with pictures on it, and I'm not showing it here because what I found was once you try to codify or put into doctrine ideas, people stop thinking. And you can't afford to have people stop thinking in naval warfare, especially with gunboats, because things happen so fast. Basically, the determining factor of an engagement is always the crew and the experience. If you've got a good crew that are very well experienced against an inexperienced crew, that usually determines the outcome of the battle 90% of the time. Even if you're engaged 2-on-1, as long as you've got a good crew, the chances of winning are pretty good. That in terms of foxhole gameplay, naval warfare, crew experience, that is the determining factor. So regarding to formations, um, I have talked to one of my members in my regiments regarding this, and we see eye to eye on it because we're experienced foxhole players. We've done a lot of combined operations, mechanized stuff in the past. Once we got to boats, it was a little bit second nature once we figured out how to get the colonial gunboats to work. But basically, um, so long as you figure out how to employ all of your weapon systems to the enemy whilst denying the enemy the ability to do the same, that's all of the maneuvering regarding formations that you really need. Um, don't try to codify it, because once you do that, people stop thinking, and the last thing you want is when you get into a major engagement, having people ask you, like, what formation are we going for? Like, no. Just you got to play by ear. Get as much experience as you can with a single gunboat, and then once you get together, the instinct should kick in, and then you'll be fine. It goes with the nature of foxhole naval gameplay, is that it's really chaotic. Nobody knows what the full picture is. Even after the war's over, to this day, there's a lot of battles which nobody really knows what actually happened. We don't know if we sunk this submarine, or how many kills anybody got, or what was the outcome of the engagement. It's all unknown. And when you get into multi-ship combat, it like I said before, it plays a lot like air-to-air combat stuff. It devolves into single engagements where people are taking snapshots at each other, and it all occurs within a matter of seconds and then just dissipates and disappears. So yeah, that's all I've got to say regarding this point here. Now we get on to the last slide here. So if anyone here is watching this and intends to like start their own regiment or start their own gunboat section, you're gonna have to take the initiative to get your comm systems worked out. It's a necessity for any kind of gameplay relating to the naval side. Here at 4th Naval, we have Discord and TeamSpeak. Those are our main systems. We also have Gilded when we're doing the major fleet operations. But yeah, you gotta have multiple systems, because once the shooting starts, you gotta have it all compartmentalized. It's not perfect. Our system that we have is also not perfect, but it's better than nothing, basically. Especially if you're trying to operate the section here. Basically, we have all the ship commanders be on TeamSpeak, and have all the crews in their own Discord channel. And so far, that's worked out very fine, well for us. But last point here regarding the logistics barges, it's something that we experimented with early on in the war, but what we found was that it really wasn't worth the time or effort. I'm not saying if you're watching this, you want to try, you can go ahead and try, but what we found was If it's a long-range operation, the logistics barge just can't keep up with the gunboats. And it's very important to keep moving and and maintain your speed if you're conducting a long-range gunboat operation. Your element of surprise, all that kind of stuff. If you try to tether your gunboat to the barge, you sacrifice a lot of your advantages. So it's just not worth bringing the larger barge all the way deep behind enemy lines. And when it comes to engaging within close to friendly waters, the times when we would have liked to have a larger barge is very rare. Uh, just not really worth the time. It is something you can try. Just put a truck on a barge, and you have the inventory space off the barge and the truck to have BMATs, fuel, and ammunition. So yeah. Now the last point here that I want to talk about is the gunboat screen tactics. I forgot to put the point here, but basically, if you're working in a large fleet formation, right, usually the role of the gunboat is to screen the fleet. You're there to provide security and reconnaissance. And of course, if you operate the way that we do, having the extra scout team, a massive amount of flexibility in how you deploy your gunboats. You can go around in different places and have the scout team provide early warning on the other flank. Very good stuff. But regarding the screens, what we've found is that a lot of people go about it the wrong way. We see people try to keep the gunboats as close as they can to the large ships, and they basically tether themselves to it and try to escort them. That is the incorrect way to deploy gunboats in a fleet formation. If you do that, and we found out, we saw it play out. If you do that, you sacrifice all the innate advantages that the gunboat has. And if you get jumped by a gunboat swarm and you're tethered to a large ship like a destroyer or something like that, and you get jumped and you are unable to maneuver or you're maneuvering very slowly, there's not much you can do. I'll try and link the video where we saw this play out very poorly. Basically, you get like 1-2 shots off from your cannon and the ATR, and then the Warden Gunboat Swarm just ends you in the second salvo, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's the incorrect way to run gunboat screens. The effective way to run gunboat screens is to be at a distance from the large ships. You want to be on the flanks or ahead of them if you're moving to your operational area. You want to be far enough to be able to give early warning. You want to be far enough so that you have room to maneuver, all right? You need to have the room to maneuver. That's the most important. And yeah, that's basically it, the room to maneuver. It goes back to the original point that I tried to raise here, the first point here. If you can't maneuver, you're done for. So yeah, that pretty much covers all of the major points that we learned in War 108. And yeah, that's basically all of the experience and reports all condensed into this one area here. So yeah, thanks for watching.